What's up guys, my name is Paul Claremont, welcome to my channel. In my last video, I talked about Archangel Metatron and his esoteric symbolism. So in this video, I'm going to summarize 6 key points of spiritual advice from Archangel Metatron in the book This is the Clarion Call, written in 2011 before the devastating Mayan apocalypse struck in 2012. And since the cover has a ghostly etheric human and rainbow-colored geometries on it, you can be reasonably sure there's probably some good advice in here. So in this video, I'm going to demystify what spiritual development really entails in this modern age, why it's something we can all do, and last, the appealing reasons we want to do it, how it can enhance your life in all areas. Well, let's do it. Now, you might be wondering what I meant when I said this is Archangel Metatron's advice. This book is considered channeled material through the author Robert Mackenzie, and it reads like a motivational debriefing and guidebook on spirituality narrated by Metatron. But in case that idea makes you want to go run out into a cornfield, let me just say that the important thing we're focused on in this video is the value and benefit we can get from the material. I'm not really concerned with proving if it's actually Metatron or anything like that, because all we can do as the reader anyway is evaluate if the speaker sounds credible, qualified, shows good character, and obviously is presenting beneficial, useful information. Proceed. So first, let me summarize what spiritual development is about so you have some context. Fundamentally, it's about evolution, crafting yourself into a happier, stronger, more admirable version of yourself by pursuing your true, higher nature. In some traditions, we externalize this idea as a god or deity, like in Bhakti Yoga, or internalize it at face value as the Buddha nature, the Supreme Self, the Absolute, the Deathless, and all those other fun names. And you can do this just to the extent of enhancing your life, or like the yogis and monks in India, the major league players, if you will, you can shoot for the ultimate goal of self-realization, the ultimate freedom and happiness. So it's like a Tony Robbins program, except instead of just developing linearly within your current framework, you're expanding vertically as well. You're expanding your fundamental sense of self and the possibilities you perceive for your reality in life. In the book, Metatron repeatedly encourages and refers to that end goal as becoming your I am presence, becoming your higher self, becoming the oneness and no longer the duality, becoming a master, and so on. For make no mistake, the kingdom of God is within each and every one of you. And the context sometimes changes, but generally when he uses these phrases, I see them as equivalent to Satori, attaining one of the 4 levels of enlightenment in Buddhism. And to quote one of Metatron's comments on enlightenment, becoming at one with the universe takes away all the duality. And although you will still live in a material world on the earth plane, you will experience what it is to be enlightened. And in this understanding, fear will be taken out of the equation. It will seem within the twinkling of an eye. It happens when you are ready for it and make yourself ready for it. But here's the key. Metatron just doesn't leave the topic at that and imply you should want enlightenment because it's the complete end of suffering or because it's the end of rebirth, like all the traditional reasons. He enumerates all the desirable worldly benefits that can come from this process of working towards our I am presence, as well as what amazing things can come when it's eventually attained. So stay tuned for that. But first, what's the general theme or outline of this development we're doing? To advance yourself, Metatron emphasizes that the main theme of whatever spiritual path you're following will be the cultivation of love. Love is the key to your transformation. And it's important to note that he almost always uses this with a capital L. To explain this in practical terms, I would rephrase cultivating love as rising up out of fear, anger, and disempowerment in terms of what we're counteracting. Of course, there's the ordinary sense of love as joy, as goodwill and affection directed towards others, and self-love, which means valuing yourself in the same way you would admire somebody else, and also not judging yourself for making mistakes. But the reason I define it in terms of what we're counteracting is because true love, beyond what we think of in romance, is an aspect of our nature. The true unconditional love is you. It's the end product of letting go of what's blocking it, which is why we use a capital L to differentiate. Also, I know for guys especially, the word love isn't always the most appealing. It can feel fruity, like we're being asked to weaken ourselves, make a concession, and let our enemies win. So, to frame this in a more general, accessible way, love means strengthening yourself and empowering yourself by overcoming negativity. Because all negative emotions and attitudes, like fear and anger, mean you're in a state of disempowerment. You're saying, this external person or situation has the ability to harm me and affect me, and I'm therefore weaker than it. It has power over me. And of course, things will technically affect you sometimes at a surface level, but empowerment means the decision to view it from the standpoint of a king who consciously chooses not to be subjugated or inconvenienced on a mental level. So depending on what your mind needs at any moment, just think of developing love as just whatever attitude, resolve, or mental processes that return you to sovereignty, confidence, and serenity. Metatron phrases this in ways like, emancipate yourself, don't allow yourself to be trapped in the lower chakras. Your first task is to take away negativity from your bottom chakras and transcend that energy from your heart. Not to say that the bottom 3 chakras are bad in themselves, just when our consciousness is only centered there and there's no heart development or wisdom. And the key thing I'm getting at is that this process doesn't necessarily have to involve loving the external thing directly. For example, enemies and rude people. Nobody wants to do that. But rather at least valuing yourself enough to decide, this doesn't have to affect me, and in fact, this doesn't deserve to affect me. So you can at least be freed from resentment and ill will, which returns your power back to you. And finally, I just want to clarify that disempowerment also includes any form of false confidence, such as arrogance, narcissism, and purposely viewing people negatively so that you can feel superior to them. This comes from fear, not from strength. This means it's not just shy and unconfident people who aren't standing in their power. Even megalomaniacs are disempowered because they have a need to see themselves dominating other people in order to convince themselves, yes, I am powerful. Take away their kingdom and they have nothing left to feed on. So see these mindsets as the weakness that they secretly are, and you won't be drawn to engage in them anymore. All right, so let's get to the fun stuff. The first thing I really liked about this book is the idea that spirituality does not require sacrifice. Metatron introduces the revolutionary idea that true spirituality can include life, pursuing passions, achievements, fun, and material abundance, as opposed to the common idea that it's only something for hardcore cave-dwelling yogis, and you've got to give up a bunch of basic luxuries. In other words, you don't have to give up the enjoyable, uplifting aspects of your life, like relationships, goals, career, friends, in order to evolve. And doing so might even inhibit you, like it did for me when I was practicing exclusively like a Buddhist monk, depending on your situation. Really, if you want to develop spiritually, no matter what your life looks like, all you have to do is consciously work at evolving your psyche and only let go of whatever's holding you back, the negative mindsets, tendencies, perspectives, and fears keeping you from your true potential. Because if we choose, we can actually use all these different areas of our life as training grounds for advancing ourselves by bringing our practice to them. You can think of this effort like training in a Pokemon game. This work is how you gain EXP to level up, but it's fun and something you want to do. Going along with this idea, Metatron consistently reminds us throughout the book not to forget that an important part of our path is to be joyful and lighthearted, to be in laughter, fun, and passion, to follow your dreams and not allow others to hold you down. Things that are normally overlooked or not emphasized because of the traditional focus on achieving mukti, nirvana, karmic liberation. And the reason Metatron frequently reminds us on this point is to decondition our ingrained idea of spirituality as a more stoic, dispassionate, undesirable thing, but also because it's easy to lose track of this basic point when you're immersed in the work that needs to be done to get to your goals. So it's not that spiritual supports like renunciation, sannyasa, and disciplines aren't needed anymore. They are useful for the advanced seekers who want to use them and are ready to use them. But we're simply highlighting the fundamental goal of spiritual development, which is greater joy and mental freedom, and the fact that you don't have to deprive yourself as an entrance fee to begin evolving.
If you want to become a Buddha, you've got to stop wearing pants and wear this loincloth instead. Have a treat.
The way is open to everyone. The idea that spirituality can work together with life is true even if you're someone seeking self-realization. You may have heard of Grihastha householder yogis, or the advice to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita about the path of karma yoga. And even the famous sage Ramana Maharshi would tell some of the disciples that came to him to remain in their worldly life and develop through that, at least for the moment. There's two major points you guys need to know about this idea of no restriction, that the way is open to everyone. And then I'll move on to the benefits and motivations for undertaking spiritual development. What do we do about profession, career? How does that fit in, since apparently we don't have to become a monastic? Like I was saying with the path of karma yoga and following your dharma, we can incorporate these evolutionary principles and practices into whatever lifestyle we currently have and use them to enhance what we do, like the samurai did with Zen Buddhist meditation. What kind of job are you doing? Do you log trees? Do you run numbers in Microsoft Excel? Are you a nurse? Do you oversee facilities as an engineer? Are you a stay-at-home mom? Whatever it is, just apply conscious effort and mindfulness into doing your best at it and striving to become the best at it. Obviously not so that you can feel better than the others around you, but for the excitement of living up to your potential and actualizing what you're truly capable of. Why be a level 10 Pidgey and stay in the first town when you can become a level 80 Pidgeot and explore the entire world? So as Metatron advises, be at one with your own spirit and your own joy, so that whichever profession you feel your bliss pulling you towards, you can do and you can excel at. And you can experience it with the utmost grace, power, and transformative momentum. Be the best at it that you can be, and this will be through meditation, through prayer, through purifying yourself. The other aspect is, what if you don't like what you're doing right now? What if it's not feeding your soul, and you know there's something better out there for you? If you feel like what you're currently doing isn't in line with your capabilities and desires, then try to seek, identify, or create a job that resonates with your sense of inner passion. Start the process of investigating and reflecting on what it is your mind likes. Because since work takes up the majority of your life and time, I very much agree with the Gary Vaynerchuk thesis, where he'd rather work a job that pays 45 grand a year and be happy than work a job that pays 70 grand a year and be unhappy or hate it. Happiness trumps excess money. To help with that process of finding what aligns with your soul, Metatron tells us, whichever profession pulls you in the direction you feel you would be most happy, most blissful, this is spirit laying out your path before you. But it must be a genuine want, not a want because someone else has steered you in that direction or said you ought to. It must be from your own self, from your own joy. And the second major category, what if you're already part of a religion or specific group? Can you still follow this path? And the answer is, don't be stopped by a pre-existing spiritual tradition. Yes, that's a health insurance pun. It's like when the companies tell you they can't cover you because of a pre-existing condition. We all know that's not how it should be, and the same applies here. Metatron says, we do not negate your own spiritual tradition, no matter which one you come from. Look to the leaders of your own spiritual tradition. You do not have to say Metatron, for I am them all, and they are all me, and they understood this. This information is simply to make you a better spiritual warrior within your own spiritual path. You do not have to break free from the people you know. You will merely become a better version within this understanding by assimilating the truth of your own being, your own light, your own love. Notice Archangel Metatron doesn't even use the word religion. he calls them spiritual traditions. And I think rightfully so, in that he's emphasizing not the adherence to certain beliefs, but rather the actual self-development that we do through these religious venues, such as Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and so on. Again, to advance yourself, just like the other areas of your life, apply your practices for mindful evolution and strive for excellence within your tradition. Become versed in its history. Study and learn all your scriptures. Memorize some. Meditate on their meaning. And practice embodying the truth of them so you can be a shining example to others like Jesus, Buddha, and Krishna. Metatron sums this up as being impeccable within yourself, saying that the masters like this are examples of light, manifestation, and ascension. Their muse you must take and model your path upon as far as your impeccability is concerned, for this is the level of consciousness that your whole planet is moving forward towards. Don't be deceived into thinking that they are higher and you are lesser, for there are only different stages of the one. Benefits and motivations. So why do we want to go to the trouble of becoming a better, stronger person, elevating our vibration, and refining our psyche? I'd say there's 5 major things that Metatron touches on, though there's many more specifics. Other than the obvious reasons of becoming more free from stress, becoming more fulfilled, more sovereign, and all that, as we pursue and embody more of our higher self, you'll see, as many of you already know from experience, that we start opening up new possibilities. Our lives become more interesting, meaningful, and exciting. We start experiencing synchronicities, which are coincidences with a significant or even sometimes magical quality. New opportunities start flowing to us. Things will begin changing in your external life to be more reflective of your inner passion. This shift is like upgrading from being just an NPC, a random autopilot character in your game, to being the lucid main character. You become like Aladdin, who's running around Agrabah blissfully unaware of the massive journey that's impending and being constructed around him. You can experience life more like an interesting novel and conceive of it like an online multiplayer RPG like RuneScape and World of Warcraft. We're all characters on missions, and there's always interesting possibilities on the horizon. Just remember though, as with all adventures, the shift isn't always going to be overtly fun and enjoyable. It can manifest externally as strife, upheaval, and challenge, like we're experiencing currently in our society. Because in order to enter the framework that's truly meant for you, all the old structures will most likely have to change, and you yourself will have to transform. So find the joy within the challenge, as if you're the gamer, and see the adventure within your circumstances right now, even if they're severely limited and ordinary. Number 2, going along with this theme of a more exciting life, you can have increased manifestation power, which, as I already hinted at, means your spiritual progress and conscious skill is going to start turning invisible wheels in the machinery of the universe, the metaphysics, to bring you more of what you actually desire into your experience. You can start crafting your life more in line with what you actually want it to be like. We've all heard of law of attraction. This is the principle that starts to come into play in a positive way when we work on becoming a stronger, brighter person, increasing our self-worth and image as somebody who's worthy and genuinely unafraid of receiving the things we truly want. And of course, included in that manifestation is the all-important money, though it doesn't always have to come that way. So Metatron's comment on this is, the earth plane is here to be enjoyed, here for you to be inspired, and for you to create the lives that you want to have. For you may have true abundance in this lifetime if you so desire and put your consciousness towards your wealth. This power is inside you already. You just don't understand how you can access this power while you are in the grip of the lower chakras. Moving towards your master being affords you the freedom to do what you want when you want to do it. This is true abundance, and you are moving forward towards this state. Third benefit. If you're like me, then you'll like this next side effect of increased social influence and mind power. If you've always wanted to become more charismatic, socially adept, impervious to adversaries, and influential, you can achieve that through this work. But the stipulation with this increased power of influence, for those of you who are worried, is that you'll be coming from a good, genuine place and not seeking to dominate for the sake of egoic power. The reason being, you'll be complete internally, valuing and recognizing yourself. So you won't feel the subconscious need to acquire validation or gain dominion over others. Likewise, you'll become more aware of other people's motivations and see through them more clearly when they're not being truthful. As for mind power, since your mind becomes increasingly unlocked, we expand our diversity of talents and gain greater creativity in all our pursuits, which is good if you already like to make art and music. We become like Leonardo da Vinci, the genius, multi-talented Renaissance man. Number 4, going along with the third point, all your relationships will improve, both romantic and friendships. If you've had problems with relationships your whole life, or you're just ready for one that's finally fulfilling, when you work on yourself through this path and refine your flaws, the negative tendencies, and disempowerment programs, then you're going to attract people that are more in line with your true self and what you want. Because you're going to be more of your true self, and no longer eclipsed by layers of fear, defensiveness, or recognition seeking. On a practical level, your relationships will improve because you'll have better communication skills, you'll be more beneficial and uplifting to others, and you'll have more solid boundaries about not putting up with egoic BS. Because of this, the company you keep will change and transform. We do not say this because we're suggesting that you change all of your friends, but as your vibration raises, you'll be attracted to ones who are of a higher vibration. Similarly, your romantic life will change. And if you are already with the partner that you're meant to be with, your relationship will be better, stronger. For a lightworker is mighty and powerful, but a lightworker connected to a higher soulmate or twin flame energy can be 10 times more powerful when you're operating from your higher chakras and allowing spirit to flow through you. Number 5, the last motivation. For those of you who like to be of service to others, the world needs help in several ways, not only on the individual day-to-day level of helping other people rise up out of negativity, but also for the longer-term goals of working towards societal harmony within your own country, global cooperation, and on the planetary level with regard to our changing climate. So through this process of evolving ourselves and becoming more socially skillful, we become a living example for others, whether friends, family, or strangers, and help them elevate as well, because we demonstrate without trying to preach or convert a new appealing template for how they could be, beyond the normal drudgery and useless, unproductive ego reactions. But obviously, when it seems desired, you can share helpful knowledge and perspectives like I'm doing right now, without this sense of needing the other person to change. Going to the next level above our personal lives. As you can see with the current state of the world, we need more virtuous, strong, wise, talented people who can eventually start the process of bringing the world's nations and societies together, creating global harmony, cooperation, and at the very least, the end of violent conflict. You can also put your new talents to work by being of service to people who are in need and less fortunate. Last, at the planetary level, we've been putting off major changes for a long time here in America and elsewhere, but it won't be long before climate change becomes a big, unavoidable problem for all of us that we're going to have to work together to fix. I literally read an article like last week about the giant 42 square mile Spalt Glacier breaking off of Greenland because of record summer temperatures. So this is another major impetus to strengthen yourself through this path, so you can be of greater impact on society and help change our infrastructure to be more intelligent and harmonious with nature. Last, there's a lot of specific bits of advice in here that I'm not able to get to, like be brave enough to take action every day, strive for purity of thought, word, and deed, practice not getting sucked into other people's negativity, and there's also the obvious stuff like meditation, prayer, making sure you put in the effort. But how you go about your path from here on out is up to you and what you're interested in. Definitely be sure to check out this book if you resonate with it. There's a lot of mystical stuff in here that I didn't touch on, so make sure you're down with that. I'll link it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble below. It's a bit pricey for the length, but it's worth every dollar if you need help getting started on your path or just refining it. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. This was Paul Claremont. Consider joining my team by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can learn more about spiritual topics and study the way with me. Peace.